Hello guys, I wanted to talk with you today about Tucker Carlson and his recent hosting of Christian Smalls on his show. So, Tucker Carlson spoke to Christian Smalls, who is a former Amazon employee or current, but he became famous in 2020 for his union organizing efforts, initially it was he worked for Amazon and people were getting sick, and he was very upset with Amazon's policies and them not being transparent about who was COVID positive and things like that. So he had quite a bit of grievances with Amazon as a company, and he's since achieved a huge win in the form of starting successfully organizing a union for Amazon. So, and Amazon being one of the biggest companies as far as total number of employees, hundreds of thousands. So, and Walmart may have more employees, but they're both very high up there. Number one and number two right there is Walmart and Amazon. So, as far as total employees. And this is all great because I'm very pro-union, I'm very pro-worker rights, and I really think that this is a great first start and first step, and we're seeing union organizing across the country at this time, which is great news. We need unions. I mean, it's no coincidence that union membership declines at the same rate and time period that it coincides with the rise in income inequality and the decline of union organization is very, very directly related. So anyway, Tucker Carlson is the number one name in mainstream news now. I mean, he's by viewership, he gets the best ratings, and especially when it comes to the key demographic, which is people between the age of like 25 and 34, I think, because that's considered a peak consumer age, like where you can, you're old enough to be a consumer. You're making steady income and you're a consumer, but you're also young enough that you haven't figured out a lot of life, and you still are a fresh consumer who is open to buying and being persuaded to purchase new products. So, Tucker Carlson gets the key demographic, although you wouldn't know it by watching some of those Fox ads, because if you watch Tucker's show and you watch the ads, it's always really stupid things about back pain medication or purchasing of gold coin collections, and really dumb stuff that doesn't seem like something that people within the 25 to 34 year old range would be interested in. So Tucker Carlson has Christian Smalls on his show, and they speak about his success with the creation of the Amazon Union, and also a little bit about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or as Tucker refers to as Sandy Cortez, which is fair. I mean, she doesn't get to have an 11-syllable name. I mean, that's ridiculous. He talked about, mockingly to her, because of course she's been considered very pro-union and as a progressive, is very pro-worker rights, but has been completely useless when it comes to actual labor organization. She hasn't been interested in her, and the whole squad have completely betrayed their promises to their voters. They do token gestures of populist and pro-worker things. Like they occasionally throw them a bone, but certainly Sandy Cortez could have been all over this and helped organize and helped bring publicity to the labor movement, and she chose not to. But Christian Smalls stays on point and make sure that it's not just a Cortez issue, an AOC issue. It's an all of politicians issue, because of course none of them were there. But it's fair to criticize AOC more, because nobody's making her promise to be pro-worker, but she chooses to say these things and then turns her back on the labor movement when they need her most. So she's obviously she's like everyone else, you know. She's no special new wave progressive. She's like everyone else. Doesn't matter that she's 30 years old or 32 or whatever she is. Doesn't matter. She's nothing new, nothing fancy. But anyway, so Chris Smalls speaks to Tucker, and I just I gotta say that I think it's a great thing. I think it's terrific to see Tucker do this. There's a reason he's number one. He's number one in mainstream news. Of course, he toes the line when it comes to a lot of Republican issues, but in many cases he doesn't. He's had a remarkably refreshing view on conflicts. He's not reliably pro-war like most of the other Fox News people, or really all of cable news. He brings on people like Jimmy Dore and Glenn Greenwald on a regular basis. He enjoys talking to them, enjoys hearing their side of the story, and really, like, when the populist left and the populist right come together, that is a scary thing for the elites. So Tucker Carlson talking to people like Chris Smalls and talking to people like Jimmy Dore or Glenn Greenwald, this is a great sign. This is it's unfortunate that I can name every example of this kind of thing happening, essentially. But because Tucker Carlson is doing it, and that's why he's one of the few good voices in the mainstream circle. I don't agree with half of what he says, or even most of it, but he seems to understand that we live in a populist age, and that most of his audience wishes to... it was hard for him to argue against the worker organization, and even though he says that he's not pro-union, which is unfortunate, because any reasonable person should be pro-union. I believe that unions are they're an essential part of... You wouldn't go into court without a lawyer. Why would you go into the workplace without representation either? I mean, it doesn't make sense. But luckily, there are people like Tucker Carlson, and there are people like Chris Smalls, and when they come together in this way, one must hope that it can only grow this movement, this momentum we're seeing with worker relations, and because people are sick of it. Anyway, thank you guys.